From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media or Voice of America on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang in Review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. said the record-high 57.87 billion peso Local Government Support Fund, or LGSF, for 2026 will fast-track essential services nationwide as he formally launched the program sa Bagong Pilipinas Bawat Bayan Makikinabang in Malacañang. Addressing governors, mayors, and local government league officials at the Heroes Hall on Monday, the President stressed that empowering local government units, or LGUs, is central to ensuring national progress is felt directly in communities. President Marcos said the initiative is built on a simple principle: local governments must have the capacity to respond to the needs of their people. He reminded local chief executives that they remain the first to confront problems and hear public grievances, adding that meaningful change begins at the community level. Under the 2026 national budget, the LGSF jumps by nearly 35 billion pesos, its largest increase ever, bringing the total to 57.872 billion. The President acknowledged that the previous demand-driven system often caused delays, especially for smaller and remote LGUs. He said reforms were crafted in consultation with local government leagues to streamline processes and speed up fund releases. President Marcos added that LGUs have already received about 1.19 trillion pesos in national tax allotment this year, over 15% higher than in 2025, further boosting local fiscal capacity.
Today, this administration launches sa Bagong Pilipinas Bawat Bayan Makikinabang, an initiative anchored on the principle that our local government must be empowered to respond to the needs of the people. Bilang local chief executive, kayo ang unang nakakaramdam ng problema at unang nakakarinig ng mga hinaing. Dahil kayo ang nakakaalam ng tunay na kalagayan sa inyong komunidad, sa inyo nagsisimula ang pagbabago. For more than 3 decades, the Local Government Support Fund, or LGSF, aside from the national tax allocation, has served as the bridge between national and local government and local communities. Ang mga proyektong pinondohan ng LGSF ay agarang naghatid ng suporta at ginhawa sa ating mga kababayan. However, in the past, it worked mainly as, shall we say, a demand-driven system. Inilalabas lamang ang pondo kapag ang lokal na pamahalaan ay nakapag-submit ng lahat ng requirement para sa panukalang proyekto. Hindi maikaila na minsan mahirap at mabagal ang proseso, kung minsan pa nawawala yung request, lalo na sa mga maliliit at malalayong mga LGU. Kaya't inutos ko at natutukan ang mga problemang ito. Nagsagawa tayo ng malawakang konsultasyon kasama ang Union of Local, ang ULAP, the League of Municipalities of the Philippines, League of Cities ng buong Pilipinas, upang tukuyin kung anong mga hakbang ang kailangan natin gawin. Una, tinaasan natin na mahigit 34 na bilyong piso ang ating LGSF para sa 2026. Kaya sa kabuuan nito, umabot na ang pondong yan sa halos 58 bilyong piso. Pinakamataas sa buong kasaysayan ng LGSF.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Monday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. called on local government units or LGUs to fast-track the construction, repair, and rehabilitation of classrooms, stressing that safe and adequate learning spaces are essential for the country's youth. At a ceremony in Malacañang, the President received the Memorandum of Agreement between the Department of Education or DepEd and city officials for the nationwide classroom building program, formally bringing LGUs into the rollout of school infrastructure projects. President Marcos said the country's classroom shortage, now at more than 140,000 units, continues to burden both students and teachers. The chief executive noted that overcrowded rooms and shifting schedules make learning more difficult and teaching more demanding. President Marcos reminded LGUs to deliver projects on time and uphold construction quality, saying classroom infrastructure is a core part of broader efforts to support teachers, provide learning materials, and raise education standards nationwide. The President said the initiative marks a shift toward faster, more responsive implementation of school building projects across the country.
As of January 2026, we have still a classroom shortage of more than 144,758, to be specific, units. So we cannot wait for decades, years, to give every student a safe and conducive classroom for effective learning. Kapag kulang ang classroom, masikip ang klase, nahahati sa ilang shift ang pasok ng mga estudyante, mas nahihirapang matuto ang mga mag-aaral, mas nabibigat ang magturo ang mga guro, at mas nangangamba ang mga magulang. Kaya't ang in-instructionon ko ang DepEd na pabilisin ang pagtayo ng mga silid-aralan at siguraduhin na maayos ang pagpapatupad nito. Ito nga, dahil nga natin na pag-isipan na isama ang gawing partner ang mga LGU, dahil pag sa aming mga kalkulasyon, pagka inaasahan lang natin ay ang DepEd, ay kulang na kulang pa rin ang magiging eskwelahan. Kaya dinagdagan natin ang mga iba't ibang programa upang mapabilis ang construction ng ating mga classroom.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday said the establishment of a modern National Irrigation Administration or NIA Command Center is vital in collecting accurate data on crops, irrigation projects, and weather. During his visit to the NIA headquarters in Diliman, Quezon City, President Marcos inspected the NIA Command Center, which was established as part of the agency's modernization and digital transformation initiatives. The command center was built to address the growing need for faster access to information, stronger inter-office coordination, and proactive disaster preparation. The NIA Command Center was constructed in parallel with the modernization of the dam monitoring system, resulting in the development of systematized telemetry over remote monitoring, or STORM, a centralized database management system. President Marcos noted that telemetry would facilitate the immediate transmission of information to the command center through satellite-fed monitoring, including satellite-fed weather monitoring. President Marcos expressed optimism that farmers and irrigators would now be able to obtain the right information through better data collection, enabling them to protect their crops as well as their communities.
Kaugnay nito, malaking tulong ang hatid ng mas modernong command center ng NIA na ating titignan mamaya. Noon, mano-mano at mabagal ang pagkuha ng mga datos. Kapag may problema sa dam o daluyan ng tubig, kailangan pang mag-antay ng ulat kung anuman ang kalagayan ng tubig. Minsan, nalalaman lang kapag nasira na ang pananim. Ngayon, binago natin ang sistema. Sa loob ng command center, real time, ibig sabihin kung habang nangyayari, ay mababantayan ang kalagayan ng mga dam, ang level ng tubig at ang galaw ng panahon. Mas maaga ngayon nating natutukoy kung kailan magpapakawala ng tubig, kailan dapat maging handa sa pagbaha, at kailan dapat magbigay ng babala sa ating mga komunidad na magiging apektado. Sa tulong ng mga makabagong teknolohiya tulad ng AI-based, Artificial Intelligence-based crop monitoring at yung tinatawag na smart weather forecasting systems, mas natitiyak tayo na nakabatay sa tamang datos ang ating mga proyekto para sa mga sakahan at irigasyon. Anumang makabagong teknolohiya ang ating ilunsad, nananatiling nakasalalay ang lakas ng sektor ng agrikultura sa ating mga magsasaka.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. reaffirmed the country's commitment to Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN centrality on Tuesday, emphasizing that the regional bloc must work together to restore its place as a global economic driver. Speaking at the ASEAN Editors and Economic Opinion Leaders Forum in Makati City, President Marcos reminded that the region last attained its global economic peak in 2019 and emphasized that member states share the desire to reclaim that role. According to the President, this will be done in many different ways depending on which country you are talking about. Following the COVID-19 interruptions, President Marcos emphasized the importance of stronger regional supply chains. President Marcos described ongoing efforts to streamline import procedures and coordinate policies among member states, such as the proposed single ASEAN grid, to boost regional resilience and competitiveness. As the Philippines prepares to chair ASEAN in 2026, President Marcos stated that national economic initiatives must be aligned with broader regional goals to achieve shared prosperity and stability.
Well, it's rooted in the recognition, the understanding, and the commitment to ASEAN centrality. And that is very, very important, that we have to work in many ways. We must work as one. I think we share the aspiration, all member states share the aspiration that ASEAN should return to its old role of being a global economic driver. That happened in 2019, that's where we were, and we need to return to that. However, together does not mean that we all do things the same way. We all have different conditions. We all are economically different. Just population, just look at our populations. Our populations are so different. The only thing that perhaps we have in common is that we're maritime countries, except for Lao PDR. And so that joint and shared aspiration of returning to that role in the global community is something that we hold in our hearts together. Even achieving that will be done in many different ways depending on which country you are talking about. But we have to do it in consonance with one another so that we achieve our own national goals and at the same time achieve the goals that we have for ASEAN. And that means that we must work together, and that's why together.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Tuesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. paid tribute to former Senator Manny Pacquiao, hailing him as a boxing legend and a true symbol of Filipino pride during the handover of Pacquiao's memorabilia to the National Sports Museum in Pasig City. In his message, the president celebrated Pacquiao's storied career and the unity he inspired among Filipinos nationwide, rather worldwide. President Marcos recalled how Pacquiao's victories brought the nation together, earning admiration across the globe and giving Filipinos unmatched pride. The chief executive also highlighted how Pacquiao's bouts became national events, moments when entire communities paused, even conflict areas in Mindanao, calling temporary ceasefires just to watch him fight. Beyond the ring, President Marcos praised Pacquiao's humility, compassion, and deep faith, noting his quiet generosity toward retired and ailing boxers. Pacquiao, the only 8th-division world champion in boxing history, redefined the sport while elevating Philippine pride on the world stage. Among the memorabilia formally turned over were fight trunks from his bouts against Miguel Cotto in 2009 and Antonio Margarito in 2010, as well as a World Boxing Council championship belt. Pacquiao is set for 2 fights this year, including a highly anticipated September rematch with Floyd Mayweather Jr. at the Sphere in Las Vegas.
What can I say about Manny Pacquiao and his boxing career that hasn't been said before? Because all the superlatives that can possibly be used, all the praise that can possibly be had by an athlete have already been heaped upon him, and well-deserved. And today, we are given the opportunity to be in His reflected glory. Dahil alam naman natin that there is no other boxer, nalampasan mo pa pati si Muhammad Ali. There is no other boxer, there is no other athlete for that matter, who gained the plaudits all around the world, and of course, in the Philippines. And we can say that sa buong kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, there was never a time when we were more proud to be Filipino than when Manny was winning all those fights and saying, but hindi lang kasi napakagaling niya, never niya kinalimutan ang pagka-Pinoy niya. Hindi lang siya champion sa boxing. He is a champion of humanity. He is a champion as a Filipino. He is a champion as a man. And he is a champion in all our hearts. And he will always be our champion. He will always be our Filipino champion.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Wednesday called on law enforcement agencies to take appropriate steps against individuals behind a lousy script and repeated lies intended to taint Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s reputation. Communications Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro was reacting to claims by lawyer Levi Baligod and a group of alleged former members of the Philippine Marine Corps that President Marcos was the mastermind behind the alleged flood control corruption schemes. In a press conference at Club Filipino in San Juan City on Tuesday, Baligod presented 18 former Marines who allegedly witnessed deliveries of up to 805 billion pesos worth of alleged kickbacks to politicians from anomalous flood control projects. Castro alluded that Malacañang knows the people behind the latest smear campaign against President Marcos. Asked if the palace has plans to file charges against fake news purveyors, Castro said it is the job of the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI, the Philippine National Police or PNP, and the Department of Justice or DOJ to act on the matter.
Paulit-ulit na kasinungalingan laban sa Pangulo. Lousy script. Hindi pang award-winning. Hindi malinis. Alam mo na may kasinungalingan. So, sino ba ang nasa likod nito? Siguro dapat malaman nyo kung sino ba yung may-ari ng sasakyan na siyang sumundo sa kanila matapos ang press briefing or press con nila. So, paulit-ulit na kasinungalingan. Dapat nyo siguro malaman kung sino talaga. Alamin nyo muna. At baka kayo, I believe, hindi kayo magugulat. Same people. Nandiyan ang NBI. Nandiyan ang PNP. Dapat malaman nila to. Obligasyon nila na kasuhan ang mga nagpapakalat ng fake news. Dapat pa ba silang utusan? Hindi po. Obligasyon ng NBI, PNP, DOJ.
That was Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Wednesday, Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s recent interactions with former Vice President and Naga City Mayor Leni Robredo and former Senator Manny Pacquiao is an example of leadership based on unity and public service. President Marcos and Robredo met in Naga City last Saturday to discuss flood control measures as part of the government's Oplan Kontra Baha program. They met again in Malacañang for the Sa Bagong Pilipinas Bawat Bayan Makikinabang event on Monday. On Tuesday, President Marcos joined a ceremony in recognition of Pacquiao's contributions to Philippine sports. President Marcos won against Robredo and Pacquiao in the 2022 presidential elections. Castro stressed that when leaders are sincere, humble, and unselfish, the country benefits. President Marcos's visit to Naga demonstrated the administration's willingness to assist all local governments, with Naga City among the top priority regions for flood prevention. Regarding political speculation ahead of the 2028 elections, Castro emphasized that the president is still focused on service. Castro also reiterated the president's message that the country's leader should understand economics and not emphasize politics.
Pink socks. Pacquiao memorabilia. Pagpapakita ng pagkakaisa at pagtutulungan kahit anong kulay ka pa. Sa pagkikita ni na Pangulong Marcos Jr. at Mayor Leni Robredo sa Naga City at sa pagkilala sa ambag ni former Senator Manny Pacquiao sa larangan ng sports, ipinamalas ng tatlong leader na kahit naging magkakatunggali sila sa nakaraang eleksyon ay hindi ito magiging hadlang sa pagtutulungan at pagsiserbisyo para sa bayan. Kapag ang isang leader ay tapat sa katotohanan, honest, mapagkumbaba at walang pansariling interes, tiyak na ang bayan ang uunlad. Sa kanyang pagbisita sa Naga City noong Sabado, ipinamalas ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. na handang tumulong ang administrasyon sa lahat ng lokal na pamahalaan. Isa ang Naga City at marami pang siyudad ang siyang tututukan ng pamahalaan para maibsan ang epekto ng pagtaas ng tubig sa pamamagitan ng Oplan Kontra Baha. Sa wasto at buong pusong pagsisilbi sa bayan, maagang pamumulitika ay dapat iwasan.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday announced that Mindanao is set to have its own disaster resource center, with construction of the new facility in Butuan City already underway. Speaking during his inspection of the Visayas Disaster Resource Center or VDRC in Mandawi City, Cebu Province, the president said the Mindanao Disaster Resource Center is targeted to be operational by late 2027. Until then, he said the Visayas Hub will continue supplying relief goods to both regions. President Marcos, accompanied by Social Welfare Secretary Rex Gatchalian, toured the VDRC's upgraded mechanized production system, a state-of-the-art line of automatic vacuum packaging machines designed to boost the country's disaster response capabilities. The 117 million peso upgrade, funded through the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management or NDRRM Fund and completed in July 2025, strengthens the Visayas region's preparedness and speeds up the delivery of relief goods during calamities. The VDRC serves as the main production, storage, and logistics hub for disaster operations in the Visayas and Mindanao. From 2016 to January 2026, it produced almost 9 million family food packs or FFPs. President Marcos highlighted the dramatic increase in daily output, now at 30,000 FFPs, up from the previous 5,000 to 8,000. The chief executive added that food packs nearing expiration will be distributed immediately to qualified beneficiaries to prevent wastage of government resources.
Repacking center, pero makita ninyo, puro makina na, dati kinakamayan. Nung manual, ang trabaho rito ay nakakapag-produce sila sa isang araw 10 to 12,000.
5 to 8?
5 to 8 pa lang, 5 to 8,000. Ngayon, pagka full blast, itong ginagamit itong mga bagong mga machine ay dadami na hanggang 30,000. Kaya nila a day, a day ito. 30,000 a day. Sa ngayon ay naka-storage, nag-aantay, meron na tayong 4 million na ganitong mga food pack para buti naman at wala naman masyadong sakuna ngayon. Meron pa rin mga sunog. Meron pa rin sa kantaon yung
iligan,
sir, patay inaalagaan ng mga
sir, yung bulkan.
Sa bulkan. So patuloy lang ang production nito hanggang umabot ng mga 5 million, lampas ng 5 million. Pero malaking tulong itong pagkagawa. Ito pinagawa pa natin, pinadesign natin itong mga machine na ito para talaga sa Pilipinas. At ito meron tayo sa Luzon, ito yung para sa Visayas at saka Mindanao. Yung Mindanao, meron tayong tinatayo na isa pa sa Butuan City, pero hindi pa mag-operate yun hanggang siguro end of the year, next year. So, in the meantime, dito muna natin kukunin. Kaya napakalaking bagay at sinasabi ko sana nga hindi na magkabagyo, hindi na magkasakuna, mabulok na lang sana lahat ng food pack natin.
Sir,
para
binibigay na lang cash
hindi
forward?
Na yung mga mag-expire, pinamimigay na lang natin dahil mag-expire na hindi na magamit. So, ganun ang sistema na ginawa natin. Kaya maganda na ang production na para sa food pack, para alalayan naman natin. Ito ang unang panahon na ang national government ay nagbibigay nitong klaseng food pack. Nung nakaraan, kung saan na lang kumukuha yung mga biktima. Pero ngayon, nakakapag-provide na ang national government. Kaya maganda itong naging facility natin.
Was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has appointed Environment Undersecretary Juan Miguel Cuna as the new Acting Secretary of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DENR, replacing Secretary Rafael Lotilla. In a palace briefing Friday, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro said, Lotilla has been designated as the ambassador of the Philippines to the Holy See following his tenure at the DENR. Castro said before being designated as acting secretary of the DENR, Cuna began serving in the department in 2008 as a Provincial Environment and Natural Resources Officer until 2010. He was later appointed as a DENR Director from 2010 to 2015, became an Assistant Secretary in 2017, and was promoted to Undersecretary in the same year. Acting Secretary Cuna also previously served as a law professor at the Arellano Law Foundation and as Director for and Legal Officer of the Presidential Legislative Liaison Office under the Office of the President from 1998 to 2001.
Itinalaga ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. bilang Acting Secretary ng Department of Environment and Natural Resources si Undersecretary Juan Miguel Cuna. Si Secretary Rafael Lotilla naman ay itinatalaga ng Pangulo bilang Ambassador ng Pilipinas to the Holy See. Bago maitala bilang Acting Secretary ng DENR, nagsimulang manilbihan si Cuna sa departamento mula 2008 bilang Provincial Environment and Natural Resources Officer hanggang 2010. Naitalaga rin si Cuna bilang Direktor ng DENR mula 2010 hanggang 2015 at naging Assistant Secretary noong 2017 at Undersecretary ng parehong taon. Naging Law Professor din si Acting Secretary Cuna sa Arellano Law Foundation at Director for Legal Officer ng Presidential Legislative Liaison Office ng Office of the President noong 1998 hanggang 2001. Upang masiguro ang tuloy-tuloy na operasyon sa DENR, nagpapatuloy ang matiwasay na transisyon sa pagitan ni Secretary Lotilla at Cuna. Samantala, nagpapatuloy naman ang proseso ng pagpasa ng mga pangalan ng acting secretaries para sa kanilang confirmation.
Was Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.